Well, to say that I was excited for Andor Season 2 to start would be an understatement. I, in fact, own the 4K Blu-ray of Season 1, which to date is the only Disney Star Wars series that I own on physical media. That's how much I love this show. In fact, when Andor first dropped on 4K Blu-ray, my local Walmart wasn't carrying it, so I made a 60-minute round trip to the nearest store that did have it in stock. Worth it. Although, to be honest, I wish I didn't have to resort to Walmart for my physical media purchases, but Barnes & Noble didn't have it in stock, so...
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
If for whatever reason you glossed over it in the thumbnail, I will be spoiling some key story elements of episodes 1 through 3, so if you haven't seen it yet, pause this video, watch the episodes, and pick back up where you left off. Go ahead. I'll wait.
2 hours later.
Okay then. Now, what do I love about Andor? Where do I begin? Well, I love how a story that revolves around rebellion showcases the fact that there will be hiccups along the way. Most rebellions start from grassroots movements, ordinary citizens that are fighting for a cause, united in their efforts, feeling that a fascist regime has crossed a line and cannot continue their reign of chaos. So I think it was brilliant that the story of Season 2 began with Cassian Andor having a tough time escaping an Imperial base, not knowing how to fly the ship that he hijacked. Yeah, that makes sense. I can only assume every ship you see in Star Wars involves some level of training to a certain degree, and guess what? Despite the underlying tension of a rebellion happening before our very eyes, it was pretty funny to see Cassian struggle. But speaking of humor, it is so expertly woven into the plot that I have to talk about it. The band of rogues that Cassian comes across on the planet he travels to also had quite a few moments of banter that made me laugh. Like when the guy sheepishly comes into the cockpit of the Imperial ship Cassian stole and asks, is there any food? And everyone else in unison yells out, no! Boom, next scene. Come on now. That's good use of humor, people. Not over the top, not in your face, not loud and obnoxious, just a funny little scenario amongst this band of rogues who are obviously starving. But what I found so amazing, at least in the first 3 episodes of Season 2, is that a lot of comedic relief revolves around Cyril. Yes, they alluded to it a bit towards the end of Season 1, but now they're all in on making light of the fact that Cyril is such an unbelievably serious person. He's not a clown, he's not some quirky sidekick with witty comebacks. In a TV show that has dark undertones throughout, they took a serious character and flipped that personality trait on the audience. That's good writing. When he talks about what a badass he is to a nervous newbie coworker, funny. His mother is about to arrive at his house and he notices a utensil is slightly off center on the plate, so he fixes it. Funny, but also a quick look into his personality, right? No words, just a quick little action that speaks volumes. And I'm sure there are those out there in internet land who haven't seen Andor, but have already seen this meme of Cyril laying on his bed, bemoaning the fact that he has to deal with his mother visiting. Just that image alone made me laugh out loud. It's objectively funny because we've all been in his shoes before, am I right? But while that's happening, Dedra, the other overly serious character in Andor, is putting Cyril's smarmy, passive-aggressive mother in her place. The writers took these 2 seemingly ominous, serious characters who are very important cogs in the Imperial machine and reduced their credibility by letting you see how they would handle a situation like having your girlfriend meet your mother for the first time. And it's made very clear how these 2 handle it, with Dedra laying down the law and Cyril laying on his bed. Ah, bravo. But here's the kicker. It made me care about Cyril and Dedra. I want to see where this relationship goes. Dedra's deadpan smile as she holds up her dress in the mirror, another quick look into her character, and again, funny. And when Dedra told off Cyril's mom, I was like, yeah, let her have it, Dedra. I mean, to make me root for a couple of the quote-unquote bad guys, I'm telling you, my friends, this isn't just good Star Wars, this is brilliant writing that just happens to take place in the Star Wars universe, plain and simple. But the humor is only a fraction of what is great about Andor. The tension is palpable in the scenes where that Imperial goon is holding a conversation with Bix. It mirrors any other scene you've watched in the past involving some nosy Nazi soldier asking too many questions, probing, putting on a facade of courteousness and likability when underneath it all, he's really just a total scumbag. And yes, Bix gets her revenge by the end of episode 3, which was so rewarding. We get a glimpse into some really interesting wedding customs within the Star Wars universe too, all while keeping the audience glued to the story through hushed tones from Mon Mothma and Luthen, with certain funds possibly drying up to continue the rebellion as it was. Every scene with Mon Mothma, you can just see the turmoil behind her eyes. Her performance in Season 1 was outstanding, and it just effortlessly spills over into Season 2. But then we get to see her kick back a few drinks and let loose on the dance floor, trying to numb that turmoil churning inside her. Again, something we can all probably relate to. Even the quick glance from her husband seeing her dance like that said it all. He knows she's going through something right now. But speaking of Mon Mothma scenes, can we all agree that the set design and costumes on that planet are absolutely stunning? Both seasons of Andor have to be the prettiest Star Wars projects in my opinion. A lot of the budget is represented on screen for all to soak in. Now, if you're new to this channel, hi, hello. I love talking about movies and TV shows, but I also love sound. And I have plenty of good things to say about the audio, but one thing that I could complain about. I'll start with the good though, the sound design. I mean, it's Star Wars. The original sound design from Ben Burtt is iconic. Anyone on the planet could recognize the sound of a lightsaber. But because of the timeline we're in, basically leading up to the events that took place in Rogue One and then the original 1977 Star Wars film, A New Hope, they brought back a lot of the sound design that was first introduced in 1977. When Cassian fires up the TIE Avenger for the first time, it transported me back to watching A New Hope with the laser blasts. The tracking system when Cassian is locking onto enemies is the same sound we hear when Darth Vader is locking into the X-Wings when flying in the Death Star trenches in A New Hope. And when we're focusing on Bix, Brasso, and Willman, there are land speeders involved. I love that iconic wailing sound of the speeder as it passes, which happens a couple times in episodes 1 through 3. The soundtrack is in Dolby Atmos, so the level of immersion is spectacular. There are a few moments where laser blasts are being fired chaotically and those whiz by my ears, completely filling up the entire soundstage. Just, again, excellent sound design. Here's my only complaint though. Granted, I only watched the first episode of Season 2 in my nice office theater. I did end up watching the other 2 episodes at home in my living room, which is still a fantastic system for what it's worth, just not nearly as good as the dedicated theater behind me. But even while watching episode 1 here, I wasn't that impressed with the dynamics. I recently moved into this office a few months ago, so this is honestly the first time I've streamed something on this system. Everything else I've watched up to this point after having calibrated this system has been on 4K Blu-ray or standard Blu-ray discs. So I was very curious how a system like this would handle streaming Atmos. And yeah, 'twas as expected, just kind of lackluster. Again, the level of immersion was there, no doubt about that. Elements were placed all around the soundstage. Although let's be honest, Andor isn't meant to be wall-to-wall action. There are a lot of dialogue-heavy scenes, but that's one reason I actually love this show. But when the action did pick up, meh. The base response wasn't all that bombastic, the dynamics weren't that great, the impact of explosions or lasers ricocheting off things was so-so, just not much oomph, you know? So I was curious. It can't be just that the engineers held back on that because of budget constraints or whatever. It has to be the delivery system. The fact that it's streaming to my office theater from a server miles away, heavily compressed compared to a bit-perfect audio delivery from a 4K Blu-ray disc. So yeah, remember how I said I own Season 1 on 4K Blu-ray? So just to appease my curiosity, I popped that back in, skipped to some action scenes that I knew would have some weight to them, sonically speaking, and yeah, sure enough, the dynamics were there. There was some impact that I could feel and not just hear. Bass response was deep and engaged my subwoofers as intended. Boom. I mean, yes, I was curious, but at the same time, I knew what the result would be. You just don't know what you're missing until you hear the real thing. So after watching that first episode in here, already I'm looking forward to owning season 2 of Andor on 4K Blu-ray so I can see it and hear it and feel it as the engineers intended. It's not the engineer's fault. It all boils down to how it's delivered. And streaming just doesn't cut it yet, even in 2025. At least for me. But that's all I'm going to say about audio. I promise I won't bring it up again when I cover future episodes in this season unless there's a really dope scene that stands out. But I just wanted to get that off my chest real quick. But honestly, that about wraps it up, my friends. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Andor is the best Star Wars to come out of this Disney era. I still have The Empire Strikes Back as my #1 film, but Rogue One and Andor are right behind it on my personal list. But I'm curious. I'd love to do more of this, talking about TV shows and movies in general. Yes, I'm sure audio will be highlighted at some point during these discussions because I love audio and I want others to love audio more. But do you like a more general discussion of entertainment? Because I'd enjoy pivoting in this direction to talk about things that I've watched. So please let me know in the comments below. And if this is your first time seeing this channel, would you subscribe if I did more content like this? Sweet! As always, this world is crazy as it is already, so it only makes sense to be kind to each other out there. Don't just watch TV and movies, experience them, maybe on physical media, And of course, appreciate sound design.